Welcome to the Underdawgs Podcast, the best podcast in the world. From Hudson Grill Midtown, your place to eat, drink, and watch the World Cup. Will Hopkins filling in for Massimo Blue, who's in Mexico City covering the World Cup. I did last episode last Monday, which if you didn't catch that, a preview of the whole World Cup, should definitely take a look. Had Justin Hanover of 680 The Fan, Jennifer Taylor of Footy Mob. But if you didn't watch that, a little bit about myself. I'm a play-by-play sports broadcaster. I've done 8 sports, including soccer at the NCAA and USL2 levels, podcast host. I help out with Braves coverage at 680 The Fan, and I'm proud to have 2 amazing guests here today. First, right here, Jason Longshore, color analyst for Atlanta United, host for Atlanta Soccer Tonight and Soccer Down Here. And over here, we've got Bart Keeler, the president of the Atlanta chapter of American Outlaws. Guys, anything else you want to say about yourselves? Happy to have you.
We could get into a million different things about where I've called games, but I'm going to leave that one alone. Y'all can find me where you want.
Not quite the illustrious career of Jason Longshore, but I did play soccer for a long time as well, so I have that going for me in some regards.
Definitely better than me, then. You do not want to see me kicking a ball out there. Happy to have y'all with us. Just a little bit of background, Bart. How'd you get involved with American Outlaws? And for people who somehow don't know who American Outlaws are, which I don't know how that would be possible, a little bit about that as well.
So American Outlaws started in 2007 in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it was just a bunch of college guys who said, hey, we need more unified support for the U.S. national teams. And from that, it kind of grew into chapters across the country. Obviously, we are a major presence at games. I attended the World Cup match back in, Friday with the American Outlaws. So that has been the driving force of American Outlaws since 2007, was just unifying support for the national teams. I started with AO Atlanta back in 2017, became president in 2021, but I've always been drawn to supporting U.S. soccer and supporting my soccer teams. I remember, supporting the Atlanta Beat back in the day. Been a part of Atlanta Silverback supporters groups as well. So for me, it's just natural to want to support the local team and the national team. But support isn't just always about going to the game. It's about finding that community of people who want to be a part of something, and that happens to just be a soccer team that they maybe like.
Mm-hmm. And then Jason, for you, I know you have a long track record but a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I've worked in soccer really since I was in college at UGA. I started working for the Atlanta Ruckus pro team, the precursor to the Silverbacks. Worked with the Silverbacks, worked with their reserve team, worked with Soccer in the Streets, and then started SDH January of 2017 and got the opportunity to join the radio broadcast team and have called every Atlanta United game since the team started. And SDH has grown to a point now where we're covering the World Cup. We have multiple people credentialed and in the building for these games. And we also, from there, tell the story of local high school games as well. We try to cover the game at every single level that we can.
I think that's a lot of what the World Cup is about. You're seeing the best players in the world, but it's about growing it to those other levels. And, a kid who's never touched a soccer ball, kicking it around in the front yard, whatever it may be, just growing the sport. You mentioned the matches you've been credentialed for. I know you went to a pretty important match as well. What matches have each of you been to, and what matches are you planning to go to as we continue along here?
Looking forward to the knockout rounds here in Atlanta because they're shaping up to be massive, with right now England and Argentina both coming in the round of 32 and then round of 16. And if they win their way through, then they would meet in the semifinal, which would be a problem for me because I would be losing my mind. The games so far here in Atlanta, I think, have all had differing stories.
Yeah, for sure.
The first game was great, underdog story with Cabo Verde and the goalkeeper Vozinha and becoming a household name and getting to see that. And the pictures that Sofia Cupertino got with our group with SDH of Vozinha breaking down, hugging his goalkeeper coach and the staff, just amazing stuff. The second game was kind of a frustrating one with Czechia and South Africa because both needed a win and they ended up drawing, which kind of hurt both of them.
And I was there. Draw felt like a fair result.
It was. It just neither team could find a way to break through. And then the third game, you got to see Spain be Spain. It took a minute, for them to get there. Lamine Yamal finally starting. I thought Dani Olmo starting as well was massive for connecting all the dots. So 3 good games, and then this week we've got a couple more coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, look, obviously I got to attend the USA match in Seattle on Friday. So in terms of which games I've enjoyed the most, that's obviously number one. But I've been to the games in Atlanta Stadium because I've been a volunteer for FIFA. So to experience, and I got to see it a little bit last summer for the Club World Cup, but to experience all these people coming into our home
Yep.
who, one, are amazed by the stadium, despite what some people might say, are amazed by the stadium.
There's one guy.
And more importantly, the vibe that they bring, the passion they bring, and the different types of people and way to support their team that they bring into the stadium is really cool. Because the Cape Verde fans were very different from the Spain fans.
Yeah.
Obviously, they left the stadium a little bit happier,
Mhm.
but to see them celebrating from, leaving their seats to walking out of the stadium to going to the fan fest was really cool. So for me, that kind of sticks out. I think Sunday's game was a little less dramatic.
Yeah, the Saudi fans were great though.
They were great.
They made
were.
so much
They were.
noise, and it was really different. Like there were elements of other fan bases we've heard, but they were consistently supporting that team all the way through. I was really impressed.
And can you talk a little bit more about that experience in Seattle? Because seeing your favorite country play in the World Cup is one thing, but in your own country is something different. And a lot of people watching this have not had that experience, myself included. So I just would love to hear more.
Look, when it was announced that we were going to host the World Cup, it was my goal and my dream to attend a U.S. World Cup match here in the United States. It was my first ever men's World Cup match. I've been to several women's World Cup matches, several for the U.S. women's national team as well. But this was different because it was here. And to be around 60 plus thousand Americans supporting their team in our country was a surreal experience, but it also, to me, showed what we can be, because look, there are a lot of Australian fans there. Good for them. But it was a decidedly pro-US crowd. And I feel like we've been building with that. I don't want this to all of a sudden be like, wow, look, we had pro-US crowd finally. I was at the games here in March, and it was a pretty decidedly U.S. crowd, minus not Portugal, Ronaldo fans.
Yeah.
But that USA-Belgium game was very pro-USA. I was at the game in Charlotte in March. That was a very pro-American crowd. And even the game in Chicago was an incredibly U.S.-centric crowd. So I think it's just a culmination of people getting excited for the team after, to be fair, some years of not having a whole lot to be truly excited about. But the World Cup brings out a different excitement, a different feeling, and a different passion, as well as just different people who don't normally show up to the game. So to be there with all of that was something that I'll never forget. Shed some tears on the day, to be quite honest, because it was an overwhelmingly emotional experience.
And how awesome was the country roads after the match?
Okay, so even more backstory.
This hits a couple different levels.
So I am a WVU alumnus.
Oh, wow.
So when they started playing Country Roads, I'm like, this is my song. I was a little disappointed because, as someone who's been hearing that since before they were born, I was like, oh man, here we go, we're singing. And there were a couple times that we got through the first chorus and people started cheering, and I was like, no, this keeps going. Second chorus, and they started cheering. I was like, no, we got the best part coming up. But that was really cool for me personally.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. So also it was like the day before West Virginia Day, which is the day West Virginia became a state. So that was kind of cool. It was like a really, I was not expecting that. I was like, this is the best. Second best country roads I've been a part of. Luckily, the first one was back in September when WVU beat Pitt at home for the first time in a very long time. That was a top tier experience, though.
It's been making headlines with the baseball team doing well also. So while we're on the topic of the U.S., and you said, there hasn't been a lot to cheer about over the last however many years, but through the first two matches, which is how many we've played so far at the time of recording this, hoping to get this out before that third match. Great results, 4-1 against Paraguay, 2-0 against Australia. I just wanted to hear each of y'all's thoughts on those performances.
I think it had been building. I mean, Pochettino's been since really the Gold Cup last summer. I mean, I remember having the conversations in the friendlies leading up to that about how things weren't looking right. And then the Gold Cup, it did. And ultimately, you lose in the final to Mexico, which, I mean, that happens. Mexico's a very good team, and they've been really good this summer as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the games in the fall, the September, October, November friendlies, the U.S. was great.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat a lot of good teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there were a lot of people who were kind of like, well, yeah, but, which is the favorite expression of talking about soccer with the national team here in the U.S. is there's always a qualifier to it. And people, I feel like, are really reluctant to truly let go and get excited. And it's frustrating at times. And we had the conversation on Friday during the game. I did a hit on the station and I was asked, is it okay for people to dream right now?
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, expect, no. Demand, no. But dream, yes, you should be dreaming. Argentina's dreaming. France is dreaming. Other countries who have been there or not been there. Japan is dreaming.
Mhm.
And the U.S. has had as much success as Japan at a World Cup. And they're letting go and saying, you know what? We want to go win this thing. We should be thinking that way.
Especially here.
Yeah, I mean, the path is looking really good at the moment. You have the opportunity. You never know when you're going to get it again. I remember watching 2002, and you get to that point. The draw falls your way. You beat Mexico in the round of 16, and then you get that quarterfinal against Germany, where the U.S. plays the best match they had ever played before the Paraguay game in a World Cup.
Yeah.
And they lost. And you're like, okay, this group's going to get back there again. Never did, because you never can guarantee it. Argentina went a long time without winning it. A lot of Brazil is in that right now. So when you have
England.
the opportunity, yeah, well, that's a whole different conversation. But when you have that opportunity, yes, fully let go and dream about it and support it and get excited about it without well, if they don't win, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that about this team right now. This is just a fun team. They're playing fun soccer. It's a really good experience seeing what this group is doing. Support them, and hopefully they can go as far as they can.
And you were talking about how people were saying, yeah, but I think those friendlies that you mentioned against Belgium and Portugal may have been a factor in that. But now
it came back, yeah.
Now these two performances have been unbelievable, especially that first one against Paraguay.
Well, what was the line that Pochettino pitched before? It was, why not us? And he says that, and then we go out and lose 5-2 to Belgium, and you're like, well, that's why. But I also will, but Jason's comments about the fall friendlies, because I agree, they were great.
Team played great.
Looked really good. Yeah, but you weren't seeing the full squad. And I think that was okay, we look good, but what do we look like with the full team together? You could be positive, but you just weren't sure. And I think that was kind of, for me, the defining moments for Pochettino, where, okay, we did really well in the Gold Cup. I think you make the final, sure. Who was on that team that really you could be confident was going to be a part of the World Cup squad? There were a handful of guys. So it wasn't, proof positive we're going to be great in the World Cup. You kind of had these questions like, okay, well, what does this look like with the Pulisic? What does this look like with McKennie and Pulisic and Adams and, all these players who were in and out because of a lot of different reasons. So to see it come together finally is refreshing, because we thought it was there. We weren't sure it was there. We were told it was there. We hadn't seen it was there. And now you're finally seeing what this full squad can do. The Paraguay game was a statement that I think made the Australia game somehow easier. And the fact that Paraguay, you had already played them. You played both of these teams recently. But Paraguay, you knew what type of team they were, in a feisty defensive team. I mean, you saw their record in qualifying, right? To go out there and smack them 4-1 gives you the confidence to come out against Australia. And, the theme between the two games is an early goal. Own goal, sure. But an early goal
doesn't matter.
It don't matter. Yeah. It's the World Cup. I don't care how the ball goes in the back of the net. I don't care how you win.
But it's not a fluke, though.
No.
You're creating
it wasn't
the
a back
situation.
pass.
It's not like that. Yeah, exactly.
And that's, to me, the theme, right? You're putting pressure on teams early, saying, we got 60, 70,000 people behind us.
Including you.
Yeah, well, obviously. Yes, as you can tell, I was screaming my butt off the entire game. But I think that matters, because we've seen it here in Atlanta. How often, when a crowd gets behind a team in a stadium of this size, it can do some damage to the opponent. It truly can. I think the U.S. is capitalizing on that with some very quick and energetic starts.
They're making it happen, though.
Yeah.
Like, it comes down to coming out of, I think, yesterday's game, so the Spain round of games. Spain is the only team that has had more high pressures in the attacking half than the U.S. And I think if the U.S. doesn't have big leads early, they're probably going to have more of that. So what I keep coming back to with this U.S. team is, talent-wise, yeah, they're not a top 10 team. But what can you control? You can control how you defend. You can control how intense your defending is, how high up the field it is. So Pochettino has went the opposite way that some teams have in this tournament, and he said, "I believe in my guys to press high up the field and be disruptive. That's what we can control." And it's been great. It broke Paraguay, it broke Australia, and now it's a real weapon for you in future games.
The amount of times the U.S. had, this is Australia who loves to, I mean, not park the bus, but they like to defend
They
with
like
the
to
bus.
sit
without the
back
ball.
and play long.
Yes. The amount of times the U.S. had Australian defenders running toward their goal made them super uncomfortable. And I mean, Dest and McKinney on the right side were doing great things.
Yeah.
The goal comes from the left, sure, but that right side of McKinney and Dest were just putting them under pressure the whole time. And that does things, especially again, defensive teams who are comfortable keeping the ball in front of them. It does a lot of psychologically, but also from your formation and your structure, it does bad things to it. And I think it's fair to say that, okay, it's Paraguay, it's Australia, these teams that maybe don't have the most attack bite. But you've given up one goal. That one goal was a little bit of an error. You kept the Australia team that looked pretty lethal on the counter, kept them to no goals as well. So the defense has been pretty decent, which was my biggest concern coming into the tournament.
Here, I'm going to but you for a second.
Okay.
Because when Turkey got into the group, I think the conversation changed, and fairly so. It became a very difficult group.
Yep.
And Turkey is out already, but everybody looked at the FIFA rankings, which are generally right now decent. They used to be terrible. Now they're in the ballpark. And you had the tightest group from front to back. So when that happened and Turkey got in, everybody said, "Oh, Paraguay, oh, Australia." So I don't want to go back and be like, well, they're not that good. We can't demean what happens going in. Like, Turkey has been proven to be not as good as we thought.
Yeah.
So that's a different conversation. And this game doesn't mean anything for anybody. But the U.S. has been very good against two teams that are not easy to beat. And they beat them handily.
And I think sometimes it happens across sports where you beat a team by a big enough margin or just from the optics that it makes people say, maybe they weren't so good.
Right.
When in reality, it was just that was a product of the way the U.S. played.
Especially the Paraguay game. They were that to me is the best match that matters. We're talking a Gold Cup semifinal or final. We're talking World Cup. We're talking maybe Confederations Cup semifinal final. That was the best performance the U.S. has ever had in a big game.
You're talking about the match against Turkey not mattering for either team. The U.S. has locked up the group. Turkey is going home. There's been a lot of discussion of what people want to see out of starters, what the 11 should be, who should play, who shouldn't play at all. What are y'all's stances on that?
I'll tell you what I would do if I was the coach, and I don't have all the information, so I can't tell you exactly. Anybody on yellow card accumulation concern, they don't play.
Agreed.
They don't even dress. Anybody who has any kind of injury issue, and you're going to be looking at those high pressing numbers. You're going to be looking at the workload. Anybody who's any kind of a concern for future injury or coming back from injury, they don't dress. They don't play. Then somebody like Christian Pulisic, for example, who is getting back into the team training this week, if he feels like he needs 30 minutes to get rhythm back, cool, you got it. No problem. I would also really like to see the attacking options off the bench start because we haven't seen them yet. We haven't needed them, which is great. And you're going to have a moment somewhere down the line where there's going to be an injury, somebody not playing well, whatever. And you might need an Alex Zendejas. You might need a Haji Wright. You might need a Max Arston out wide. I want to see them. So if you do need them, they've gotten a game in the World Cup.
Yeah, I think Weah and Reyna are big ones as well.
Yeah.
Get them match fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Christian Pulisic is an interesting one because
you're
right. We don't know truly
there's no way to know
what the injury is. If it's a muscle injury, which they say calf, but the injury they've described it as being like he got kicked.
Contusion.
Right. Yeah. So a bruise, which, okay, that's not a muscle injury. So I'm not worried about fatiguing it.
Yeah.
So if the bruise is healed, I would like Christian Pulisic to play because I don't want him going 19 games or 19 days in between.
It's a long time.
Games.
Yeah.
That is a long time.
If there's no risk of further injury,
right.
However long he feels like he needs to get back into a rhythm, give it to him.
Would you be concerned about that leg being a target? He gets kicked around a lot as is.
I mean, we didn't have him last game. We got kicked around, so I don't think that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what Turkey's going to play in that way.
I don't know. You can't wrap guys in bubble wrap.
Yeah.
I'd rather, if I feel like he needs time to be sharp in the games that matter, I'd rather have him play a little bit.
I do agree about yellow cards, though.
You got to sit them.
Balogun has a yellow card. Tyler Adams has a yellow card. You've got to sit
Yeah.
him. Jedi has a yellow card. So to your point about Arston, I think Wright would be interesting.
I think it's 4 guys on yellows.
yeah.
And they,
Yes,
if
it is
they
4.
got one in the Turkey game, they would miss the round of 32.
Chris
Then it
Richards has a
resets.
yellow card.
But
which-
after the Turkey game,
It
it's
resets.
a clean slate.
It resets for, and there's another reset, I think, after the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
I would like to see. I think Chris Richards is on one. I think you can put another center back out there because, to your point, you might need it at some point in
Yeah,
time.
I'm not even
know?
risking it. If somebody's got a yellow, I'm not even risking
Yeah.
it that they lose their head and do something silly.
The only
like we
problem
saw.
right now with the Adams thing is Christian Roldan apparently is listed as day to day. Now, that could change by Thursday, but
Play Berhalter.
you play
that
Berhalter.
spot.
Do you have Adams as your sub and he comes on? I don't know
I
because
wouldn't even have him on
Roldan
the
would be your
field.
This is the
normal.
beauty of a 26-man squad, though.
Yeah.
You've got
Right.
plenty of options.
I wouldn't even.
I don't
I
know.
wouldn't even have Adams on the field because he loves a tackle, and he might get a
He
little
does,
too
he
fired
does.
up. So I mean, you saw him in the Australia game where he thought he should have had a yellow card the
Yep.
other way when he gets whacked, and he says something like, "All right, you're going to give me a bad tackle, right?" Like he said something to the ref like that. I was cracking up.
Hey, I'm wearing a Christian Romero jersey. I got no problems with a hard tackle.
No problem.
But it is interesting because, to your point, it's not that it doesn't matter because I do want to strike that. It doesn't matter for the standing.
The result doesn't matter.
I want to win,
Oh, of course.
and obviously this
Keep
team
the
wants
vibes
to.
going.
Of course.
And I think that's what matters, right?
Yeah.
Keep the positive momentum going because if you lose 1-0 and Turkey's going to have to score, which we'll see if that's possible. But if you go out there and you say, "Hey, we're going to rotate some guys. We're going to maybe not play. We're still playing hard, but not playing our best lineup." That's fine. I get it. And you go down and you lose 1-0. Okay, no harm, no foul. We move on. Guys got experience.
Yeah.
Got experience playing the type of game we want to play in a World Cup match. That's good. But you don't want to treat this as not important.
100%.
I don't think Pochettino is going to do that. But
He's
I
not
do,
wired that way.
No, he's not. But I do think that is a little bit of the danger if you rotate slightly too much. But there's also the long game you're playing.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, we've seen teams get eliminated at World Cups where somebody gets as out due to suspension. You just have to be so careful with it. And Pulisic's the interesting situation just because of the injury. I'd love to get him some time, but you're going to be having that conversation with him. And if he doesn't feel like he needs it and there's any concern about aggravating it, nope, sit.
Yeah, if he doesn't need it, then I don't think there's any reason to play him. But yeah,
Yeah.
super interesting conversation. So many different things to look at.
Yeah.
Injuries, who needs time, who needs experience, yellows, so many different things. We'll take a step aside from the U.S. for just a second and talk about the broader tournament. First, the hosts. So back to the U.S., but not the men's national team. U.S., also Canada and Mexico. What have y'all thought overall? I wasn't alive in 1994. What have been some similarities and differences and just overall takeaways so far?
I mean, it's just a different world now, like on a lot of different levels, but it's a different soccer world in this country. I think in Canada as well. Mexico is similar. On the field, Mexico's been great. Canada's been good. Qatar was lousy, and that game got really weird on a lot of different levels. But Canada getting points, getting into the knockout round is amazing. Mexico being better than we expected is amazing. So the host team's doing well is always a good thing at a World Cup. It always adds excitement.
Then in terms of like the stadiums, the cities, like the
stadium?
actual nations.
Yeah, I
hosting.
mean, I think it's been great. Like, we haven't seen Canada as much on this. The bromance between Mexico and South Korea has been amazing. I cannot get the Norteño remix of Golden out of my head because it was all over TikTok and Instagram in the build up to that game.
Yep.
Those kind of storylines have been a blast. The Scots have taken over everywhere and drank Boston out of beer. And now they might be going back if they've been playing Germany, which is really frightening.
They're going to need a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just seeing, like, here in Atlanta specifically, I mean, seeing the fan bases, seeing the march from South Downtown to the stadium, seeing people get to experience a venue that we know well and a venue that, at times we probably take for granted because we're there all the time. And to see the, like, people looking up in wonder is just the coolest thing.
I don't take the air conditioning for granted.
Yeah, definitely don't do that because it's always cold in there. I need a jacket.
I think one thing that has struck me about the U.S. stadiums is the thing that I think most people were most afraid of. They're full. They are packed. There is not a seat to be found.
It's like 99.5% full so far.
You've been around enough World Cups and other big tournaments. There are a lot of times where they're not full. And that's just because, when you look at some of these past tournaments, they're playing in really big stadiums because FIFA requires it.
Well, and no offense to Czechia and South Africa, but that's the game where it really had to turn everybody's head. Because you see the group stage coming, you see Spain coming twice, cool. You know that's going to be big. You see Morocco coming, I think that's going to be huge. Haiti as well in that game, I think that's going to be a really fun one. We'll see about Uzbekistan and DR Congo, but you have to feel better about it now because that game was a blast to walk from South Downtown to the Bends and see South African jerseys out in force, a larger number of Czechia fans than I would have ever guessed, but then every other imaginable jersey, because there were a lot of people. That was a game you could go as just an average fan and turn out. And it was fun.
And I had concerns. That was the only match I've been to. I had concerns about how full it would be. And like you said, it was a lot of neutrals.
Yeah.
But that's a noon weekday game.
Yeah.
Between Czechia and South Africa. If that's full,
exactly.
There shouldn't be any concerns.
There shouldn't be. I think still in the mainstream media side, there's still people who want to find things to take shots about. And this happens with every tournament when you lead up to it. It happens with every Olympics. It happens with every major event. The build-up, you run out of things to talk about with the event, so you just look for things to try to score points with and be negative about.
I mean, what did we hear? Italy hosting and talk about how the Olympic hockey arena was like not done when they started playing the games. And it's like, all right, well, I think with not having actual drama with our host cities, because for the most part, all of our host cities are much larger than a lot of, I mean this sincerely, a lot of other host countries, they're great, but they don't have the size of the city and just, I mean, the amount of hotels and infrastructure we have is way different than any other country.
The amount of diaspora from all over the world too. I think that's the other key is, there has not been quite as much international travel in, and I think there's enough data to show that now.
Yeah.
But somebody like DR Congo, for example, you don't have people coming in from DR Congo because of the Ebola outbreak. You're going to have plenty of DR Congo fans here with family who came here earlier, people who've grown up here, have never been to DR Congo, but associate there because that's where their family's from. So you're going to have so much of that in the U.S. that you just don't have in some countries.
And that's something that, I mean, look, there's a reason that CONCACAF always hosts the Gold Cup in the U.S.
Reason why Copa America wants to come back.
Yeah. And I think that's just the advantage that the U.S. had. But to see Mexico with just fantastic fan bases and people enjoying Mexico, I guess Canada's doing things up there. I haven't seen the videos online as much as I have in U.S. and Mexico, but it's been fun to see because one of the things, and Jason, I know you talk about this all the time, the European mind cannot comprehend that people enjoy the sport on this side of the Atlantic and truly love it and have different ways of supporting it that may not look like how they do it in Europe, but that doesn't mean it's any less organic or, more importantly, just less fun.
The Europeans have gotten into singing country roads. That's been fun to see.
They've gotten into a lot of things that they couldn't have previously comprehended. I got to give a lot of credit to Freddie on Twitter. He's bridging the gap between Europe and America. You mentioned Italy. I have to take this opportunity to make fun of Massimo. He is Italian. They are not playing. All right, got it out of the way.
They did get a referee into the World Cup, though. So congratulations,
wow, Massimo!
Italy.
Congrats.
They've
congrats,
got two
Massimo.
coaches, Uzbekistan and Brazil. So you've got people to root for. But
congrats, Massimo. That's cute.
Sorry, no Azuri.
You mentioned Scotland. Who have your favorite fan bases been so far?
Scotland's been great. I'm serious. The South Korea-Mexico thing has been just amazing. But there's backstory there that I'd kind of forgotten about with South Korea helping Mexico get out of the group in 2018. And Mexico fans I think it was in Guadalajara, going to the Korean consulate, I believe, or embassy, and like celebrating and bringing tequila and like it was amazing. So that's just continued.
They didn't do that for us when we helped them qualify for 2014, though.
They had the really good commentator though, who had, if you haven't heard, it's Martinoli, I believe. who is not on the main channel in Mexico. I think he's on the secondary channel, who had the hilarious Flair and Balogun call, which we can't repeat. We try to be proper around here. But no, it was great. They had that call at least back then too when we helped them. So we got that. Fan bases I've enjoyed. South Africa here, was great. That was really cool to see. And there's so many connections between Atlanta and South Africa that people might not know about. That was cool. The Argentines are insane. A video of the Argentines taking over a Taco Bell in Dallas area was hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's a lot like a video of them taking over a food court in a mall in Brazil in 2014, singing a song about how Maradona's más grande than Pelé. And it just kept getting louder and louder every time the round came back. It was amazing.
And on the day of recording this, Argentina played in Dallas. It seemed like it was in Buenos Aires. It was so loud.
Yeah, this is a crazy day in Argentine history because this is the 40th anniversary of Maradona, England, 86. Same date. This day that Argentina played is nuts because you have that. It's the same date from 94 that Maradona played his last game for the Argentine national team in Dallas. And a lot of people kind of thought it came in because the Argentines are very superstitious. There was a lot of talk about the curse of Dallas because that's where Maradona tested positive for doping. And I think it was pseudoephedrine at that time. If I remember right, a fat burning pill that he was taking. But
Shocking, that's...
No.
Well.
Yeah, no. It wasn't other things he could have got popped for doping. I think he had gotten rid of those at that point. But that's where his tournament ended. And it's also, they played Austria, which is the only team that Maradona had a hat trick for or against for Argentina. So there were all these different little things that tied in, and Messi becomes the all-time leading scorer.
Shout out Thiago Almada for that dummy to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, go back and watch it. Like he is looking, so he carries the ball forward, plays it out wide. He's looking the whole way. He's like, I know where Messi's going to be. Is he there yet?
But then he stopped looking.
Yeah,
because he looked right before.
No, because he knew. Yeah. He knew. He had already looked. He saw him coming, and he's like, I know where he's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let it go.
Who have your favorite fan bases been?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, we might get paid for Almada soon.
Oh, one of these days?
No, they still have to get bought from the liquidators at this point. Don't even get me started on John Textor.
Give it 10 years, we might see a check from Almada.
Don't even get me started on that
one. I'll say the Cape Verde fans here in Atlanta were fantastic. I think, look, getting the result helps with the fan base being able to show its true colors and celebrate the way they did. But, they were, in the fan zone still celebrating. That was great. Those were the ones that I think I've interacted with that were the most just fun, good-natured people. Shout out to Saudi fans though, because I thought they were really well represented the other day in Atlanta.
Yeah.
The Spain fans were fine. I'm not going to try to talk one way or the other about them because they were expected to be the big numbers inside the stadium, and they did. Yeah. But I do want to shout out the Cape Verde and Saudi fans because I think countries you wouldn't expect to show up so well, who came into Atlanta and said, we're bringing the party too.
Which teams would y'all say have impressed you the most? This can be, some of the favorites or a team that you didn't expect much from, and then maybe some teams that have disappointed you a little bit.
Portugal's been a disappointment up to this point, which isn't a huge surprise.
Well,
there were a lot of people who started saying Portugal was their dark horse to win the whole thing, and I'm like, did you miss the last World Cup where we're having the exact same issues?
Yeah.
And at the time of recording, this is Monday, so they haven't played their second match yet. I want to make that clear.
Yeah. At this point, they would be in the disappointment category. Argentina has to be in the positive category. They're the defending champs. They've looked like it. They've looked like a team that can win. France, up to this point, has looked like a team that can win, although that first half against Senegal makes you wonder. England is the same thing, like first half against Croatia. Second half was great.
Yep.
You expect them to kind of build as the tournament goes on. Germany, Curacao is a hard one to really judge, and I think we've seen some games get wild at times, and it hasn't been a true representation because Curacao bounces back from getting blown out and gets a draw with Aloy Room saving everything, 15 saves in that one. But who is Germany right now? Yeah. Are they 7 goals better than Curacao, or do they need a last-minute goal to beat Cote d'Ivoire? Yeah. So they're kind of where I thought they would be. Argentina's better than I thought. Mexico's better than I thought. Canada's better than I thought. The U.S. is better than I thought, and I picked the U.S. to win the group, but they've played better than I expected coming in. I'm trying to think of who else. Ecuador's been a disappointment, although they've had like 500 shots and they can't score a goal, which was a concern coming in, but they just haven't been able to break through that. Paraguay's been a disappointment. I expected more from them.
Yeah.
They just haven't been up to the level that I thought they would be. The other impressive one for me is Japan.
Yeah.
I think Japan is a team that could really make a run and be a bit of a surprise. Still a little concerned about the Dutch. They've had good and bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweden, I have no idea who they are. They score 5 one game, they give up 5 the next game. I don't know.
Maybe Tunisia's bad.
They're bad.
That was my biggest conclusion is that they're awful.
Well, Harvey Renard
got a coach randomly throughout.
He got a check though.
Yeah,
he got a check to come babysit. Yeah,
for him.
He can go buy some more shirts.
Bart, what about you?
So I think the one that's impressed me the most, I'm gonna give 2, and 1 is not a surprise, but the one that's really impressed me the most, I'm gonna go with Japan as well, because I think showing how they showed against Netherlands to come back and win, or excuse me, to draw after a back and forth affair against what I still think is a very good Netherlands team. I think they are good. But then to follow that up with a they didn't score as many goals as Sweden. They didn't need to. That game was well in hand.
Yeah, they dominated.
I think that to me showed that they can play with most teams in this tournament. And I'm going to say the U.S. because I think, like you said, Jason, it's not that I was surprised we won both of those games. I think we were favorites too, but we looked great in the first game. We looked darn good in the second game, especially in that first half. I know people are decrying, the second half's performance, and I don't really care. You've defended a 2-goal lead and didn't give up a goal.
Please stop trying to find things to be mad about, people.
I think winning World Cup games is important, and we won a game.
Fun.
Yeah,
I think those two have to me said, oh yeah, we can do this. And do this might just mean making a semifinal. But look, we know Argentina's good. Have they performed a little bit better than expectations? Maybe. We know France is good. But I think for the U.S. and Japan, 2 teams that mirror each other a lot from a national team perspective and a domestically perspective, I think they're finally saying like, hey, actually, no, we can do some things in a tournament.
Will Hopkins, Bart Keeler, Jason Longshore, as we continue along here, the Underdawgs Podcast here at Hudson Grill Midtown. Going to go back to the U.S. as we begin to wind things down here. U.S. is set in stone. They've won the group. There's still a lot of opportunities or possibilities of who they're going to play, whether that be in the round of 32 or if you start looking ahead. Who are some of the types of teams that you think they match up best or worse against? Doesn't have to be a specific nation, but just a playing style.
I want teams that leave space. I don't want to see a team that's going to sit back and bunker. I worry about being able to break that down. That's never been the U.S.'s strong suit. I think if a team leaves space, the U.S. can exploit that. I really like what they're doing tactically. I think don't get hung up on formation. Don't get hung up on position. I think that becomes too much of a conversation. I saw just on the broadcast Friday before kickoff 2 different lineup configurations, and
you got 11 guys on the field,
and neither were right. Yeah, exactly. So it's
like
you've got some principles, and you've got some connections, and you've got some relationships on the field that are important. It's not about the shape. I think the U.S. can thrive against teams that want to build out of the back because of that pressure, which might sound funny, but a team like a Spain, for example, I think the U.S. could cause them problems with a high press because Cabo Verde caused them problems in a very different way, sitting deep. I think the high press and finding a way to then turn that into a goal. I mean, we saw it in the Confederations Cup back in 2009. So if the U.S. can play teams that want to build out of the back, teams that are kind of open, I think the U.S. will do well. It's honestly getting kind of an underdog opponent would worry me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about a team that has a legitimate threat at striker because I still have questions about the central defense partnership between Richards and Reed. They've been good, but I think it's fair to say that we haven't really seen a striker who is like that's a dude. The U.S. coming into this World Cup was giving up like 1.4 goals a game under Pochettino, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in a World Cup, that's a lot. Yeah. And so again, the fact that we've only conceded 1 over 2 games is great. I think it's fair to say we haven't played a team with a striker who is that kind of striker. So I mean, for example, Japan we saw Netherlands finally find a striker. Spain is one that I think is in that boat of do they have an actual goal scoring central striker?
Don't
They have a
don't put disrespect
Oh,
on
yeah,
Mikel
played really well.
I'm not disrespecting. I'm just
Don't
saying
put
that
disrespect on his name.
That's my question. Is I think if you have someone who really contests our center back pairing, that's a problem. Matt Freese hasn't had to do a whole lot.
No.
Good thing. I'll take it. But I do think he's not a weakness, but he's not a strength. And so those are the kind of the things that concern me. Is a team that does know how to score goals is going to be a problem. So I understand about bunkering. I'll take a team that's a little less willing to attack, but I do have concerns about, is this team going to be able to defend a really good attacking player at striker?
I have less concerns about that because of what we saw against Australia. Because for all the talk about that being a 4-4-2 or
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't, first off, because Pepe actually played deeper than Pulisic did in the first game. The other thing that was very interesting is Alex Freeman played really as a third center back.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it's been a back five.
it has been. Like, that's, if I'm breaking it down, I call it a 3-4-2-1.
Yeah.
So it's the three center backs with Freeman on the right, Ream on the left, Richards in the middle. Freeman against Paraguay was able to be the hybrid that he is and turn into more of a right back and go high because Dest was even higher.
Yeah.
And that went great in the game with Australia. And I was shocked that they went as defensive as they did Australia. They didn't start Aaron Kunda, who worried me. That's
He worried
why
me. I don't know why they didn't start him.
like,
I'm
oh, thank
blown
God.
away by them being negative in that, because I think that's why Freeman sat more, is he stayed back. That was the plan coming in. McKinney went wider to the right consistently and combined really well with Dest, and that went great. But I think the U.S. against those kind of teams, it will look more like a true three center back group with the wing backs then having to make decisions on how high they go and what that looks like. It's really been three center backs, Adam sitting by himself for the most part. The wing backs high, but Dest even higher on the right. And then McKinney and Tillman have kind of read the game depending on what it needs, where they've been. Pulisic or Pepe. Pulisic was higher than Pepe, so Pepe dropped a lot more. Balogun dropped a lot more in game one. He stayed higher in game two. So
Very fluid.
the tweaks, it was really different between the two games. That makes me feel pretty good about what Pochettino can do in those tighter games.
And you said earlier, Jason, it's okay to dream. So I'm going to get into a couple of hypotheticals as we close things out here. If the U.S. were to win the World Cup, what would the city of Atlanta look like that evening?
What would every city look like? I mean, I don't know if Atlanta would be any different than other major cities. Like, that's been one of the cool things about this with these U.S. games.
Yeah.
Is the Friday night game. Seriously, what made me more emotional about it was seeing the game being projected on the side of a building on the Beltline, seeing a packed out downtown, I think Roswell, seeing a packed out viewing party in Chattanooga, like seeing all these different places with all these viewing parties. So I think, like, as cool as the hockey team was, and people were excited about it, this is a whole different ball game. I think it will be a party in every major city. And that's awesome. Some cities more than others. I think Atlanta will be on that list of being more than others. Because just think about that final. I mean, if the U.S. is there, Centennial Park will be full. Piedmont Park will be full. Because
might even open up the stadium. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you could go into so many different situations. It would
Wrestler.
be massive. Yeah. All of you who own a giant venue, like, open it if that's the case, because that would be just absolutely nuts. We'll see. I mean, one game at a time, like, at this point now, once you get
screw
to
it. When we win the World Cup.
Oh, wow. Wow. Now he wants to be positive. Now he's not butting.
No, but look, if the World Cup comes home, right?
Every England fan just turned this off.
Good.
They were watching?
It will be something that I think ignites. You've seen the Super Bowl celebrations in many cities. We just saw what New York looked like with the Knicks. I don't think it'll be at that level for a couple of reasons. One, the Knicks being so hard done for half a century.
But
that was one city, too.
It will be a lot of that. Yeah. And, there are American Outlaws chapters in just about every major city. Well, every major city and just about every other tertiary city in the country. A lot of them are hosting watch parties that are outside.
Yep.
You can go on any of their channels and see beer being thrown. I know Atlanta, maybe not that night, but the next day we'll have a lot of chicken wings on the ground and a lot of plastic beer cups probably still on the ground.
Yep.
It will be a party because people will already be partying. And to your
Yeah.
point, that was the difference in the hockey team. That was great. I watched at home.
The
Yeah.
time of the match,
Yeah.
the game didn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
But there will be people partying already
Yeah.
because that's what we do as soccer fans. We get together and we watch this game together. And
drink
I
beer.
think that'll help with any spontaneous celebrations that
Yeah.
happen. I mean, I can tell you that it's not there anymore. I was across the street in 2017 for a game that we don't really need to get too many details into. I was ready to party. I was
can't
at
get into
a
that.
21 out of 10. I don't remember. what
On to the
happened
next
after
topic.
Yeah, Lady
Um,
Gaga was great. I don't remember anything after that.
So one last thing, and I'll let y'all go. Thank y'all so much for joining. You've talked about Europeans maybe not understanding the way we do things. If we were to win the World Cup, what would be the thing that U.S. fans would do that would most annoy and bother the rest of the soccer world that thinks they're so much better than us?
Everything.
Yeah.
Every single thing. What would be the one that would really set people off? I've been saying throughout the tournament, because I have had no problem with yelling at people and being yelled at about the hydration breaks, because we went through this thing last summer where the European teams were so concerned about, I think, 85 degrees that they sent their substitutes to sit in the
Yes.
locker room for the first half.
Yes.
And they're like, we have to have hydration breaks. Okay, here you go. 3-minute hydration breaks the whole tournament for competitive integrity. Because if you're going to have it for some games, you have to have it for all, which is a part of it that nobody wants to talk about.
Jason, there are people who have never hosted a soccer tournament commenting about this, and I'm
Mhm.
sure, as you know, I referee.
You
soccer.
want it to be even and balanced. You want
If
the
you're
rules
doing
to be
if you're doing a water
consistent.
break at 3 p.m., that 8 a.m. game's got to have a water break too.
Because a coach can take advantage of that. And we're seeing that. And it's been funny, Kylian Mbappe saying, like, don't ask the players about it because they'll change their mind every time. And then, you've had Marcelo Bielsa and you've had Gustavo Alfaro complaining about the hydration breaks and momentum, but they don't complain when their players fall down and roll around for 5 minutes to try to break up the momentum, which is the same thing. The hydration breaks have been a thing, and I would love to see U.S. fans. I'd love to see the stadiums play whatever college football thing you want to do, because everybody's got a different one, and everybody hold up four fingers, because the Europeans would go insane.
Yeah.
And they would riot against it, and I would just laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think winning it would make their heads explode. So
They would find some way to discount it really quick.
They would say, well, it doesn't count. You won at home. And I'll go, okay, well, England doesn't have a
Yeah,
World Cup either.
exactly.
I don't know. We'll just pull an Auburn and start claiming national championships after it too.
We're not going to do that. We have more class than that. But I will agree that winning it alone would do enough, and they can try to discount it all they want.
They will.
We would not care. Thank y'all so much for joining Bart and Jason. Will Hopkins here on the Underdawgs Podcast at Hudson Grill Midtown. Come here, eat, drink, watch all the matches. Hope you enjoy the rest of the World Cup. Next episode, Massimo will be back from his adventures in Mexico. Excited to hear about that, but thank y'all so much for joining.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.